G'day and welcome back to my hobby room. Now look, I've been busy. Well, actually, I was busy about 8 years ago, yeah. About 8 years ago, I built this. And it's a walrus. It's a Matchbox walrus. Little 1/72 scale kit. And it's a little kitty. It's just it was so much fun. It really was. I'd never built a walrus kit. Well, I'd never built a Matchbox kit to that point. Neither, yes. But it's actually not a walrus. No. Despite, it's a seagull. Ark! Yeah. The reason I'll explain as we get into the video, because basically in Australia we had seagulls. Yes, we had arcing seagulls. Anyhow, the kit was a lot of fun and I'd never made a video for it back then. So I decided today I'd make a video and I'd rig it. So I'm going to show you how I rigged it. Does that sound interesting? Hope so. Roll the music. Now my kit, this is the box lid, but that's all I got. I actually didn't get it in a box. It came in a bag like this. Somehow they'd lost the box and it would have been one of those side opening sort of boxes, you know, like Ravel does everything. But I got everything in there along with all the parts. Yes, as it says on the box lid, it's a 3-coloured kit, yeah. So mine came in this grey, which was sort of all the internal bits and some of the struts, and then yellow was basically the body and the fuselage, if you like. And then there were clear parts. Well, actually, that's 4 colours, isn't it? Yeah, but the wings are white. Yeah, as you can see from this picture, the wings were white. And I decided to paint mine completely silver because then it's like the ones we had in Australia. Because when this first came out, it actually had been developed and then the original prototypes sent to Australia, and they were called seagulls, right? So it wasn't a walrus. When we got it, it was Sammy the seagull. And there was a seagull number 8, right? I found photos of them. So I made seagull number 8. Later on, when they sort of got the bugs out of it in Australia, I suppose, they called it the walrus, and then it ended up on all the battleships and everything like that. Very successful. And even after the war, these things were still running around doing all kinds of stuff until helicopters became affordable. And then basically you could land a helicopter anywhere or on the water. That was much more affordable than trying to maintain and keep one of these noisy things going. But let's have a look at the instructions and a bit of the plastic that's left over, and then we'll talk about the build. So these are the parts. This was yellow, which was struts and things. And we still got a machine gun there that I haven't bothered putting on. So I didn't put the one on the bow because mine I decided to seal it up. I think the seagulls were basically like that. Try to make mine like the seagull as much as possible. That's why it's silver on the top and it's sort of a chocolate brown underneath, because that's the colours they were. For some reason I have a spare one of these, which is, you know, clear sprue. Don't know why, but I have it, so there you go. I'll explain how I did the masking on the canopy there. Very easy method, really easy method. Anybody can do it, and you don't have to shell out for a very expensive mask. No, you can do that. Bit of tape, sharp knife, knock it out, piece. So being a little Matchbox kit of its day, it's just a big foldy out long thing, very long, too long to show on camera. Instructions are very much like Airfix. They're very simple, very easy to read, parts go together well. These kits are sort of a joy to build. They're usually very cleanly moulded. Mine was just lovely. And I picked it up for half a shekel or something. Wasn't much at all. And you just follow the instruction where you go. You've got to watch when you put the motor in and the centre section here. Mine looked skew, and I was going to straighten it. Someone said to me, no, they were deliberately angled at about 7 degrees or something, so off centre, because the torque of the motor would twist everything back over again. Remember, because it's a rotary motor, so it sort of twists and torques. So yeah, so there is a slight angle. So if you ever build a walrus or any sort of seaplane with a single motor, be careful, because yeah, the centerpiece probably will be canted over a little bit. So there you go. So yep, follow the instructions. 2-part wings, so that was quite good, and everything's there. You get little blobby little pilots, just like an Airfix kit. It's lovely. So this was sort of like Airfix, but I'd never built a Matchbox kit before. This was one of the first ones that I ever put together. You have wheels up and wheels down, which is rather good for a seaplane. I chose wheels down just so it was easier to display, but these days I would have gone fully wheels up and you know, done something with it. And at the back, just the paint guide, and there's some instructions here on what to do. So there's basically, they give you instructions on how to paint individual parts, which is nice, because the big things it's pretty easy to tell, and you've got usually got a big coloured guide that tells you what to do. So there's a few sort of hints and tricks here. And here are those coloured parts. Yes, 3 colours. It was a lot of fun. Don't have a photograph of the fuselage parts before I put them together, but you get the idea. It fitted really well. A little bit of jigging. Basically, it went together. I just had a joy doing it. A little bit of putty was needed. Only the fuselage there at the front and behind the canopy. The canopy, I used that trick where I put a whole piece of Tamiya tape over the top and slowly cut away the pieces I didn't need. It's really easy to do. It really is. Here I am jigging the floats into place with some pegs, whatever comes to hand, and starting to mask it up because it did need to be a different colour. And here it is. It is silver. Yep. Seagulls is silver, and it painted up beautifully. That's Steiner's. Steiner's metallic. Painted up really well. I pulled off my tape from my masking, and I was quite surprised how good that canopy came up. Then I remasked again because I needed to paint the undersides that chocolate brown, because that's what seagulls were. Yes, they had brown bottoms. And there you go. She was pretty well done. I just needed to do a few extra things. I don't know why the floats are off again. I might have broken them, had to put them back on. So there we are. I'm sort of just adjusting and testing a few things. I know I had to take the floats off to paint the brown underneath. Last thing I had to do was put some decals on. Yep, and they went on with a bit of Future and a little bit of Mark Fit. Easy as that. And that brings us to today, where I've dug out the Walrus from storage, and it's not too bad. It's in reasonably good condition, at least that side. Here it had suffered some damage. Well, one of the floats had fallen off, and that had happened because the wheels had actually broken off. They're only held on with tiny little flimsy little things. Now there's shiny stuff there. Well, that is me adding brass rod. Okay, so this is 0.5mm brass rod. So what I did was I drilled 0.5mm holes after cleaning up the back parts of the wheel, the back hub of the wheel and the landing strut, give them a good clean up and sort of flatten them out a bit, which lost a little bit of detail, but it all gets hidden anyway. And then I drilled out the holes to match the rod. See, I glued in some rod to each of the wheels, and then they just slid through and held in place, and I've had those setting overnight. So now it'd be just a simple matter of removing the excess that I no longer need. Bing. And bong. There we go, just like I bought one. So now the Walrus is back on its flippers. So notice I had something there on the wing when I had it upside down. That is because when you do have this thing upside down, the props actually are higher than the wing. So you'll be very careful of that if you're flipping it upside down. So that now looks fine, and she should sit comfortably on her feet. So that's good. The offending float, well, luckily it was a clean snap. It snapped off exactly clean, and I was able to match the points of the styrene and put it on with some Revel contactor. I didn't use CA glue because CA glue, if you then bump this, CA glue tends to shear and snap. So I let that set with copious amounts of Revel contactor, which slowly cemented in overnight, and now that's quite good. That'll be as good as the original. Now, one thing that I hadn't done is any rigging. So I thought it'd be good in this video to at least do something. So I've got some rigging thread here. This is basically, as you can see, it's for aeroplanes. And it's 0.2 to 0.25mm, which is a bit thicker than you get with like Easy Line. Yep. Which I used to use, but Easy Line tends to totally disintegrate after a couple of years in Australian heat. So I've switched to using this, or I would actually just use cordage on some things, but I'm going to use this today, and I'll show you how I would rig a little biplane like this. There's not a lot to it, and my method is really easy. It's a real cheats method. Now I've already rigged one side, and it only took me an hour. So I did that entire side of rigging, right? And you think, well, that's quite good, Harry. How many lines? Well, there's 1, 2 across there, 3, 4 across there, 5, 6. So 6 pieces? No. In fact, you could rig this whole thing with 1 piece of line. But that's kind of showing off. I'm going to show you an easy method just using 2 pieces. And it makes it so much faster and easier to do. Okay, it is a cheats method, so the purists are going to get all upset, but I don't care. And again, I'm going to use my big-eyed beading needle, right? And this is the one where fingernail in, you can pop it wide open, and then it's very easy to get your cordage, or in this case it's a filament thread, that goes through the needle, pulls up, and you're away. So no knotting required. And to release, it's just the opposite. Just drag it down the middle and pull it out. That is going to make threading so much easier. Now, the first thing I want to do is start upside down. So I need something, again, soft to protect that prop. So I'm going to use this eraser. Okay, so over we go. And we're going to do this side this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one great big long piece. And I'm going to start here, go to here, then down diagonally across the end brace, and then back across and up to here. One long piece. And then I just reverse that and do it again for the other one. It's done in 2 lengths. How long a length do I need? Well, ideally, you want about 2 lengths of the wing will be enough for the whole cordage, and then another one for knots tying and fumbling and all the rest of it. So 3 should do it. Okay, that's where the big-eyed beading needle comes in. Now, why am I working upside down? Well, I find it's always easier not to try and work at the bit that you can't see. So I want to tie that one there, so I want to look down on it and see what I'm doing. The big-eye needle makes it very easy to thread through. Right. So starting there, I just tie a knot. Again, with my old bandicoot eyes and fumbly fingers, this makes life so much easier. So there goes, there's my first knot. Now what I need is some super glue, or CA glue. And a brand new toothpick. And what I'll do is I'll put a tiny dollop of the glue down there at the base where this is going to cement, and then pull that tight, and it will only take a few seconds for that to adhere. Alright, now you could use the old tried true method of using a drill and cutting little holes and putting the thread in away out. And that's good. If you've got the patience and you've got the dexterity to do it, go for it. But this is a tiny little model, it's smaller than my hand. Right, so we've got our big long length. Now this time I'm going to need to go to the one here, which I can't see. So yes, we will flip over. Okay, so take your time with this. It's fast and easy to do, but the trick is you don't want to be working when the glue hasn't set on your joints. So that one's still setting. While that's still setting, I can mess around here. Again, the needle makes it so easy to get around, get through, and tie your knots. Because if you're like me, you've got old hands and wobbly old eyes, anything you can do to make life easier and quicker is what you want. Except in the bedroom. Apparently you're supposed to take your time there, so they tell me. Bess doesn't mind. No. Nice quick cuddle and she's a happy girl. Beth's a cat, by the way. So, repeat the process again. All we're going to do is bring this down. Now, it's often a good idea to do the knot a little higher up, right? At least get the tension on it. And then, with a little bit of glue where it's going to go to, if you now take it down, you'll have tension on that line and it'll be nice and firm. And this is a monofilament line, so it does tend to stretch, but I don't like them too tight. So give that a bit of a pull. Yep. Drag it down. Okay, got to there. Now all I'm going to do is follow the bouncing ball. Okay, easy as that. So with that one in, the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to go up, so I'll turn the flying boat upside down again, and I'm going to tie to there. So that one will go to there, and so on and so on and so on. So let's speed this bit up, and I'll get that done quickly. about half an hour, I have rigged all of that. Now I've left it to set the glue, because you don't want to do the final trimming until you're absolutely sure that that glue is set. As I know, I have undone it a bit early sometimes, and then it all unravels, and you can fix it. That's the subject of another video, how to fix cock-ups. And with our little trimmers, we just need to get a bit of tension on that line so we can see where it is. Getting up close but not cutting the knot. Cut. And with this bottom one, the same thing. A bit of tension on the line so we can see what's going on here. Helps you got about 3 hands at this point. And getting close, but do not cut the knot. Yep. There we go. Now, I've rigged everything on the inside. You'll notice here you can't see the cross lines on the outside of the struts. Rigged everything on the inside. And the reason for that is if you don't like the unsightly little sort of pieces of cordage that appear at the bottom here, right, you can get in with your paint. In this case it was Tamiya aluminium, and with a toothpick or a fine brush you could just tap a little bit of paint on where that line is and it just disappears, right? So now you can't see any cordage here, you only see it on the inside. So that looks pretty good. It's a cheats method, it's not perfect, it's not entirely accurate, I know, but it gets the job done. And to all intents and purposes, if you just want to rig your biplane and you don't want to have a bloody coronary doing it, that's the way to do it, and it's really quick. So there you have it. That is my arcing seagull. Yeah, we had them in Australia in 1935. I mean, they got sort of designed a bit earlier than that over by the RAF, but they didn't go into production, they didn't get used, and they weren't called the Walrus until much later on. So we had them in Australia, and they had them in New Zealand, and we're running them all around here, and as I said, we probably got the bugs out, and they went, okay, bugs are out of it, let's call it a Walrus. And they did. And it is just a delightful subject and a wonderful little kit. I really enjoyed building this, and I enjoyed working on it today, just doing that rigging. It was just so much fun, and the repairs I had to do. In fact, I built another one. It's one of those kits it's endearing, it's fun, it's the joy that I find in the hobby. It's not incredibly, well detailed, it's not very complex and difficult. It's not quite a Tamiya kit, it doesn't really snap together that easily. There's a bit of work involved, a bit of snaffling, right? But it's fun, it's really fun, and I loved the result that I got from that. And I learnt that masking technique of putting the tape over and then cutting it out with a knife. So that was good. And I hope you enjoyed my very simple rigging method. Not for everyone. It's not correct. It's not accurate. It's not perfect. But when it's on, no one else is going to know. It looks like rigging. And it's really easy. So there you go. All right. Look, if you enjoyed this video, there's buttons. There's buttons down there. There's buttons tusk, bellow and flipper. Yes, that's right. Yes, you can tusk, bellow and flippo my walrus. And if you really want to help me out, do more videos like this, buy me a curry. Yes, I live on curries. Yes, walrus curry would be nice. Don't know if that's legal. Are we allowed to have a walrus curry? Don't know. I've never eaten walrus, because I don't really eat a lot of animals. It's kind of like a fish. I'll be okay. Yeah, was it Bask? Bask says it's just a big fish. All right, we'll be okay. Just spit out the tusks. That's what she reckons. All right, well, that's it. Full build for change, which I know you all enjoy, and a little bit of tips and tricks as well. So there's been a bit of stuff for everybody, so I hope you enjoy that. All right, that's it for now. It's goodbye from Australia, and it's hooroo from Harry Houdini. What's that, Bask? Did I forget to put the photos on there? Oh, all right, you want some photos.